Hello everyone and welcome to Fairy Oasis. My name is Lilian and today I'll be sharing with you a tutorial on how to use a 1-inch diameter cardboard tube to create a beautiful miniature DIY shelving unit for your dollhouse projects. So first, what are we going to need? Most importantly, the cardboard tube. I'm repurposing mine from packaging that would have otherwise gone in the recycle bin. Next, you're going to need something to measure and mark the tube with. You'll want a cutting device like a box cutter, as well as sandpaper, gesso, paint, and a glue of your choice. We can split this process into 6 steps: marking and cutting the tube, cleaning the edges, gesso, painting, and assembling and gluing. It's fairly easy, and there are a lot of places where you can try different things. For example, maybe instead of painting the sections, you could try Mod Podging decorative paper onto them. Let's get started. Step 1. Take your cardboard tube, your measuring device, and your marking device. Mark out 1 inch from the end of the tube. I suggest marking in 3 to 4 different spots around the tube to help get an even cut. Next, take your cutting device and gently score along the first set of marks. After you've got a nice straight scored circle, you can start cutting in until the section separates. I chose to mark and cut one section at a time in an effort for each section to be as close to 1 inch as possible. For the design I'm making, you want a total of 9 sections, 4 on the bottom layer, 3 in the middle section, and 2 on the top section. Step 2. Sand and clean up the edges along either side of the cuts. You can choose to do this after you finish cutting all the sections or after each section is cut. Either way, you want at least one end of each section of the tube to be as smooth as possible for a nice, clean, finished look. Step 3. Now that everything is cut and sanded, it's time to make sure that the design you want to go with is going to work. Go ahead and arrange all of the sections to see what the finished design should look like, and about how much space it should take up. If at this time you don't like something, now is a good time to make adjustments. This is also a good time to compare the lengths of each section, as even if you try really hard for each section to be an inch, there might be small discrepancies. Step 4. Gesso. Gesso is a primer, and in this case, it's going to give us a nice surface to work on. My finished piece came out with this sort of faux leather texture to it that I rather like. Take your time to paint the inside, the outside, and the edges of each of the sections. You may want to allow some time for the pieces to dry so that you're not leaving marks in the drying gesso, as you have to shift around or handle the piece to paint the other sections. I suggest doing 2 coats. Once you've finished, give it plenty of time to dry. Check your gesso for time suggestions. Step 5. Now on to the fun part, painting. There is so much you can do here. You can do a solid color, you can do patterns. As you can see here, I did a solid black color with a pale purple dashed line near the edge of the front of each section. For me, I was trying to make it look like this was a DIY project the artist in the project I'm working on made herself. As such, I was okay with some imperfections and slight raw edges. I suggest thinking about what kind of look you want to go for, or what the person who lives in the space you'll be putting this in would want in their space. Or if you don't have a specific project or space to make it for, just do something that you think will be fun. Again, as with the gesso, if you're doing solid colors, I suggest going with at least 2 coats. And again, let things dry thoroughly. Finally, step 6. Now it's time to bring everything together. Take the time to arrange all of the sections in the order you want them in. You don't want to be doing this once you're already gluing pieces together and you can't switch them around. Take your time with this. I started with the bottom section first in an effort to make sure the final piece would sit flat. I also placed the pieces together and looked at where they were going to connect, and then applied the glue to that section. This is especially useful once you get to the second layer, where you're going to have pieces connecting at 3 different points. For this project, I used wood glue because that's what I had on hand. Tacky glue or hot glue could also work. If you're using hot glue, be very careful. It's hot. But also, if you're used to working with hot glue, you're aware that there will be strings and strands that get everywhere, and sometimes it's hard to control exactly where this glue ends up. If you're using wet glue, like wood or tacky, you can use a paper towel to clean up the spots where maybe the glue seeps out into a spot where it would be visible on the finished piece. Also, be certain while you're gluing that you're gentle with the sections, so as not to bend or warp them. And again, let everything dry. And that's it. A finished 1/12 scale shelving unit. I'm using this particular piece in my goth artist's bedroom, but I can also see something like this working in other places, like a children's bedroom. If you want to use a larger diameter tube, like a paper towel or a toilet paper tube, I think it would definitely be useful for cubbies that a kid could put their plush toys in. You could also cut the sections shorter and go for a wall-mounted shelving unit. Honestly, just have fun and experiment a little. Once you have a basic idea of how to work with a material, there's so much you can do. Ta-ta!